Another day, another fake wonderkind, 30 and under genius, supposed savior of the world, found to have faked her way to incredible wealth by pulling the wool over the eyes of a gullible and lazy media, and venture capitalists blinded by FOMO and groupthink. Yesterday, it was Elizabeth Holmes and Sam Bankman-Fried. Today, it's Charlie Javis.
Be careful about your credit score. Build it, take out a credit card, use it responsibly.
Charlie Javis grew up in Westchester County, an affluent suburb of New York City. There, she attended a private school and rode horses before catching the socially conscious entrepreneurial bug on a volunteer trip to Thailand when she was a teen. Her experience abroad motivated her to form her first venture, a web-based microfinance platform designed to help alleviate poverty. The combination of her youth, entrepreneurial streak, and altruism proved to be an irresistible story. Soon after enrolling at the Wharton Business School at the University of Pennsylvania, Javis was featured in a number of glowing profiles in media outlets such as Fast Company and Forbes, among others, which portrayed her as a whiz kid in the mold of Silicon Valley, but with a desire to help mankind. Javis parlayed her growing fame after graduating from Wharton to garner funding for her next venture. Frank, as the company was called, consisted primarily of a website tool designed to help college students easily apply for federal financial aid. It didn't take long for Frank to achieve phenomenal growth among the millions of cash-strapped students looking for a helping hand to finance their studies. Impressed with the company's momentum and the scale it had achieved in such a short time, JPMorgan Chase bought Frank for $175 million in the summer of 2021, giving Javis an exit most entrepreneurs can only dream about. She was only 28 years old. Javis was media savvy from an early age. While still in high school, she founded her first venture, a nonprofit organization meant to leverage social platforms to engage young people in alleviating poverty through microfinance and other business initiatives. The organization she founded, PowerUp, was featured in 2011, her freshman year at Wharton, as one of the 11 coolest college startups by Inc. magazine. Inc. described how Javis came up with the idea of PowerUp while on a volunteer mission to Thailand when she was a teenager.
One afternoon, while buying donuts from a local villager, Javis realized how microfinance could be the answer.
I bought 50 donuts for $1,
she says.
The way I explain it is, at some point, we all had a lemonade stand. My mom used to give me money to buy those lemons. I'd make the lemonade, and keep the profits. I realized people in developing countries don't have that mom.
Inc. magazine.
In the same year, she was named as one of Fast Company's 100 most creative people. A YouTube video posted by the Wharton School proclaimed Javis to be the voice of a microfinance generation. A story by Peter Cohan in Forbes magazine gushed,
As Javis takes summer courses in finance and accounting at Wharton, she will also be running PowerUp. It would not shock me if she continues to hurdle over whatever obstacles might block PowerUp's achievement of its goals.
All of the glowing media coverage of Javis as a precocious visionary also got the attention of the Thiel Foundation, which offered her a $100,000 fellowship to drop out of college to pursue her passion full-time. Javis turned it down, choosing instead to finish her studies. The plaudits continued after Javis graduated from Wharton and formed the company that would eventually become Frank. In 2019, she was named to Forbes 30 Under 30 as well as Crain's 40 Under 40 lists. She parlayed her growing platform to garner funding from venture capital firms Aleph Venture Capital, Apollo Global Management, Ground Up Ventures, and Silicon Valley Slow Ventures, among others. She was even aided in her fundraising by one of the journalists who had covered her story when she was a teenager. Dominic Chu, a reporter for CNBC, introduced Javis to Michael Eisenberg of Aleph. All of the funding she raised allowed her to promote and quickly grow her business so that by 2021, Frank claimed to be helping more than 5 million families apply for college financial aid. In the summer of that year, Javis approached JPMorgan Chase, the country's largest bank. Javis convinced JPMorgan that Frank's user database of some 4.25 million financial aid applicants, in combination with its web-based tool, represented a beachhead that could help the bank increase its market share among college students, whom the bank could then potentially turn into lifelong customers. Within a few weeks of their first meeting, JPMorgan agreed to buy Frank for $175 million, with an additional $20 million retention bonus for Javis if she stayed with the company in her new position as JPMorgan's managing director, head of student solutions, for a specified amount of time. Charlie Javis had finally gotten the massive payday for which she had worked most of her life. At the tender age of 28, Javis was a centimillionaire. In a LinkedIn post shortly after the deal closed, she wrote,
"It's not every day that an entrepreneur gets her fairy tale new beginning, not the end."
That fairy tale wouldn't last long. Just over a year after the deal closed, Javis was fired for cause from JPMorgan, and the bank sued her for its money back, plus punitive damages, interest, and legal fees. JPMorgan claimed that Javis and her second-in-command, Olivier Amar, not only grossly misrepresented the size of Frank's user base during the course of its due diligence meetings, but went so far as to synthetically generate a list of 4 million college financial aid applicants out of thin air using various digital and commercial methods with the help of a data scientist hired specifically for that purpose. Instead of getting an actionable list of real-life potential customers for the $175 million it paid, JPMorgan was duped into buying a database mock-up. This much came to light when JPMorgan conducted a test using a fraction of the records provided by Frank.
The results of the marketing test campaign were disastrous. Specifically, JPMC sent marketing test emails to what it believed were 400,000 unique Frank customers. Of the individuals contacted, only 28% of emails were delivered, compared to a 99% delivery rate JPMC usually sees with similar campaigns. Just 1.1% of the delivered emails were opened, compared to 30% for a typical JPMC campaign.
Potentially inculpatory for Javis and Frank are a trove of emails between Javis and the professor, communications to which JPMorgan gained full access when it bought Frank. The emails revealed evidence that Javis personally researched and recommended that the professor use a technique that could model Frank's legitimate user base of some 250,000 names, home addresses, email addresses, and phone numbers to digitally generate 4 million fictitious records that shared the same general characteristics.
Next, the data science professor moved on to email addresses. In an email at 12:56 p.m., the data science professor, referring to the template Javis sent an hour earlier, asked Javis,
"You have the student email marked as provided as unique ID, but didn't we agree to make fake ones a law as done at gmail.com? Or do you want unique ID after all?"
In a response sent 6 minutes later at 1:02 p.m., Javis asked,
"Will the fake emails look real with an eye check or better to use unique ID?"
At 1:37 p.m., the data science professor confirmed,
"They will look fake. So let's use unique ID."
In light of the damning allegations, Javis's entire career history became the focus of intense scrutiny by the very same ravenous and fickle media machine that fueled her rise in the first place. What was revealed was a masterclass in image creation and personal myth-making that was Gatsby-esque, both in its scope and singularity of purpose, but consummately modern-day in its methods. The long con seems to have begun with the origin story of Javis's first venture, Power Up. According to Javis, the idea came to her during a trip to Thailand, where she had been volunteering to teach English in a border village. But according to an article in Business Insider, Javis was actually there as part of a student travel and learning experience that now costs $6,000 a head to participate in. What's more, there is no record of Power Up ever having been registered as an organization, nonprofit, or otherwise, despite Javis's bold projections and altruistic pronouncements. And most of the partners Javis claimed to be working with disavowed any such arrangement, with one of them, Grameen America, stating, "Grameen America has not received any funding from Power Up or Charlie Javis, and vice versa. The whole thing seems to have been a hollow facade."
Ultimately, according to the New York lawyer who helped set up the organization, Power Up was a lofty idea that she could not execute on. Forbes magazine.
Although both the origin tale of Power Up as well as the organization itself that formed the basis for her image as a socially conscious entrepreneurial prodigy were fake, the content value of her story was apparently too good to pass up, and a media feedback loop soon materialized, with each story building upon what was previously reported, layer upon layer, until a self-perpetuating myth was in place. Javis, her associates, and champions continued to feed the myth machine as the acclamations rolled in, unwittingly abetted by a permissive media and culture still seemingly seduced by the Silicon Valley parable of the baby-faced founder disruptor. With each mention of a new accomplishment, the media took Javis and her supporters at their word.
Javis was pitted against the likes of future Figma co-founder Dylan Field but took herself out of the running to win because she wanted to stay in school, according to a Tumblr post shared by her Power Up team. Aleph partner Michael Eisenberg, a key Frank investor, also said in a 2022 Medium post celebrating the JPMorgan acquisition that she was selected to be a Teal Fellow but turned it down.
Only after news of JPMorgan's lawsuit came out did anyone in the media bother to check whether or not the Teal Foundation actually offered Javis a fellowship. It turns out it hadn't.
Michael Gibson, co-founder of the venture fund 1517 who previously oversaw grants for the Teal Foundation, had a different recollection of Javis.
She was never offered a fellowship, and it bothers me that she is going around saying that.
He told Forbes.
Because of her personality, we didn't trust that she could get started in a real way.
As for the origin story of how Javis founded Frank after having struggled with financing her own Ivy League education, no one seemed to question why a woman who attended an exclusive private school in Tony, Westchester County, New York, who rode horses as a hobby growing up, and whose father was a 35-year Wall Street veteran including stints in Merrill Lynch and Goldman Sachs, would have trouble coming up with the money for college. The media also seems to have given Javis a pass when, in 2020, the FTC sent Frank a warning letter about misleading statements on its website, including one that claimed it was dispersing students for no interest or fees, when in fact the company was charging a $19.90 monthly fee. While many articles about Javis's supposed early accomplishments are still floating around the web to this day, I couldn't find a single story covering the FTC complaint, even though the agency issued a press release at the time. Part of Javis's allure may have been the halo effect produced by the altruistic component of her various projects. Although she always focused on finance, each of her ventures had an ostensible mission of doing good. As was the case with Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos, the press was all too eager to find a more humanitarian angle to the typical founder story. But Javis's quickness to pivot from one scheme to the next without gaining much traction in any of them except in the form of PR hinted that her priorities may not have lied with the assorted missions she purported to advance. Her real purpose seems to have been growing her personal platform and network to eventually extract maximum value from them. The once acceptable tactic of faking it until you make it finally seems to be losing its currency as an effective strategy for durable success, thanks to the deluge of scandals regarding dishonest founders that have made investors, companies, and members of the public more wary than ever. Could integrity and ethical behavior finally be making a comeback? It's no secret that in recent years, unsexy qualities such as thoroughness and patience have taken a backseat to the disruptor mentality of moving fast and breaking things, a mindset that has permeated many areas of our culture, from politics to business. It takes genuine conviction in what you're doing to stick to a path that may not yield immediate rewards, but which may represent a real contribution to your chosen field or to society as a whole. Legacy builders are those who recognize the value of patience, diligence, honesty, and integrity, qualities that older generations held in high regard, and apply them daily in pursuit of authentic lives which they can be proud of once all is said and done. It is these kinds of people who truly embody a sense of purpose and achievement, inspiring others along the way. If you like this type of content, please do me a favor and click like at the bottom of this screen and subscribe to my channel. I really would appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.